Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणाविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवत पुराण की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदी। All those assembled devotees, all those assembled devotees, all those assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Pravanarthi Harena Ha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Samjni Hirshuna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Samjni Hirshuna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Samjni Hirshuna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Samjni Hirshuna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Harahiti Swakulam Samjni Hirshuna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanarthi Harenaha Padarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Samjni Hirshuna. Ladies, Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapayanarthi Harenaha Padarim Tvam Prajahiti Swakulam Samjni Hirshuna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prajahiti. Aham, I, Cha, and Uktaha was told, Bhagavata, by the Supreme Lord, Prapanna, of the surrendered, Arti Harena, by He who is the vanquisher of the distresses. Ha, indeed, Badarim, to Badari, Tvam, you, Paryahi, should go, Iti, thus, Swakulam, his own family, Samjni Hirshuna, who desired to destroy. Translation purported by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is the vanquisher of the distresses of one who is surrendered unto Him. Thus he who desired to destroy his family told me previously to go to Badrik Ashram. Purport. While at Dwarka, Uddhav was warned to avoid the distresses which were to follow the disappearance of the Lord and the destruction of the Yadu dynasty. He was advised to proceed to Badrik Ashram because there he could associate with the devotees of Naranarayan, and in their association of devotional service, he could increase his eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge and detachment. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. The Lord is the vanquisher of the distresses of one who surrendered unto Him. Thus, he who desired to destroy his family told me previously to go to Badrik Ashram. There's a very beautiful translation by Srila Prabhupada here to this very nice verse. The Lord has been given a very special adjective here, that He is the destroyer of distress. And who is in distress in this world? Everybody. That percentage is 100%. Living in the world which is coined, framed and designed as Dukhalaya, there is no possibility that anybody can be spared from these miseries, whether it may be Adhyatmik, Adibhautik or Adidaivik. And yet there is a class of people who are called as devotees. Even they are in distress because they are living in this material world. But being intelligent, they have figured out how to counteract the distress by taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. And therefore the Lord who takes these devotees as his own, like a father and mother, always concerned with the anxiety of keeping their children comfortable and free from distress. Similarly, Krishna and Srimati Radharani, our eternal father and mother, are always concerned and deeply worried about the welfare of those devotees, those pious souls, those fortunate souls who have taken shelter of their lotus feet. Therefore, he is called as the vanquisher of distress of the surrendered souls. Yesterday was a very auspicious day of Bhishmashtami, and today is auspicious day of Madhavacharya's appearance day. So we'll try to speak something which connects Bhishma and Madhva today in relation to this theme of Prabhupada's translation as Krishna is a vanquisher of devotees. So we'll try to combine these three dimensions. And of course, our minds naturally go to the Mahabharata, the war field of Bhishma Dev. So it is the 8th day of Mahabharata. On the 8th day, as usual, the fight was very ferocious, very intense. And at one point of time, Bhima attacks Duryodhana. But he's not attacking him with... it is said that Arjuna was on the southern side of the war field at Kurukshetra. And he was very far away. And Bhimsen, whom we generally know as a person who always uses the mace, but on this day he was using bows and arrows. And with bows and arrows he was able to really break Duryodhana's chariot, his staff, his horses, and made Duryodhana completely defunct. And Duryodhana was trying to defend himself in various ways using his own bows and arrows. But the moment he would pick up his own bows, Bhima would shoot an arrow and destroy it. So by shooting something like 37 arrows at one time, he made Duryodhana completely incapacitated to do anything, and he was deeply wounded and fell in his own chariot unconscious. Seeing his a very ghastly state of affairs and is deeply wounded, he was taken aside by the other Kauravas to his camp for safety. On this day, Iravan, Arjuna's son, who was born of Udupi, one of another wives of Arjuna, was killed in the war. And Arjuna is in great distress. He practically holds his hand on his palms and sits in his chariot and is very much distressed. And he realizes, he tells Krishna, I see now the wisdom of Yudhishthir. For this war is creating such a havoc. I understand his wisdom of wanting to prevent the war from happening, because we can see there will be so many widows in this world. The whole world will be filled with thousands upon thousands of widows. Seeing Yudhishthir Maharaj's wisdom and yet expressing deep sorrow and grief for his son's departure, he begins to fight again. On that day in the evening, it appeared that the Pandavas had gained a little upper hand over the Kauravas. And that brought so much anxiety to Duryodhana, because he was seeing right with his naked eye that he was wounded badly. He was in a very, very bad shape. And he had seen also that his warriors were being slaughtered in huge amounts. And therefore, when he comes into the tent, he is received by his dear friend Karna, who says, actually, my dear friend, I'm so unhappy to see you like this. He nurses him with various herbs and other pastes and everything else for relieving his pain and wounds and his bleeding. And tells him that just ask Bhishma Dev to stop fighting. If he stops fighting, let the old warrior step down. If I come into the war field, you will not see this reversal that you are seeing now. Because you know that Bhishma is always going to be a little partial to the Pandavas. Until he is a commander-in-chief, he will be lenient towards them because of natural affection, being the grandfather, and you will never gain success. So Duryodhana becomes, who was already much pained, he gathers courage and takes his horse and goes to the tent of Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev has got this special herb called Vrishalya Karini from the Himalayas, which is also used during the time of Lakshmana's injury in the Ramayana. And that he applies on the body of Duryodhana, and Duryodhana's wounds start healing very fast. And Duryodhana expresses his anxiety that, my dear Bhishma Dev, when you are there on our side, you are so powerful that actually even the celestials would get scared to fight. You can single-handedly destroy all the Pandavas, and I know that that is all valor. But you are not doing your best. And in this way, Duryodhana speaks so many things to really, what you call as, instigate Bhishma Dev. You are not showing your Kshatriya prowess. And Bhishma Dev assures him that I am doing my very best. But please understand that Pandavas are and always will be invincible because they have Krishna on their side. And he quotes various examples from the past where, in spite of all the chal and kapat which was done by Duryodhana, they were always saved by Krishna, who is the vanquisher of his surrendered devotees. And therefore, all your attempts to destroy the Pandavas will be always in vain and futile. So don't even try to think of this. But Duryodhana was not a person who would want to listen. He was a poor listener. He had zero listening skills when it came to good advice. So he persisted, he insisted, and he kept on coaxing and cajoling. Bhishma Dev said, no, you must do this. Otherwise, I will have to ask my friend to take over. And the moment he said that, those words to a person as powerful as Bhishma Dev, to think that he would be replaced by somebody as inferior as Karna, who was born in a lower family, apparently, right, was a dagger which hit his heart very badly. And then Bhishma Dev removed 5 arrows from his decorated, nice, gem-studded quiver. He put his hand over them and he chanted some sacred mantras and invested his own ascetic power. As you know, Bhishma Dev was ascetic. He was a powerful ascetic. He invested his ascetic power into those arrows and said, these arrows I will use tomorrow to kill the Pandavas. So we can see here, Bhishma Dev is in great distress, because on one side is his affection. What is his distress? Distress is his dharma sankat, deep, deep, deep pain brought about by natural affection for Pandavas. He is surrendered towards Krishna, and knowing that how Krishna is the protector of his devotees, yet his Kshatriya and dharma kept on, demanding out of him his need to fight with in the best of his capacity and make his team win, make the Kauravas win. And therefore both are very contradictory type of situations, and he was sort of in between the two, right? So that was his distress. That distress he had gone through for many, many years. And now that distress of Bhishma Dev's heart had come to its peak level now, right? On the other side, Arjuna was in distress, having lost his son. And now Krishna senses, now Duryodhana thought that this is a great plan. Now these 5 arrows are already there. So he But he was not very sure whether these arrows will remain with Bhishma there and something would happen, right? And some trick will happen. So he said, can I have those arrows? You give it to me. So he would keep it securely with him and said, tomorrow morning as the shank is blown, I'll hand over these arrows to you to do the needful. And he kept the arrows next to his bedside, and in his tent, looking at the sky, which would look very morose earlier, few minutes back, now looked very nice and welcoming. Because even tomorrow morning would be a great day for me. And if Arjuna is killed, the war ends, and the kingdom is, unrivaled kingdom is mine. So he sleeps very happily. But Krishna was always, his nature is so unique, his love is so powerful, his love is so special. He is very restless to see his devotees suffering. In fact, the devotee may have somehow adjusted to his suffering, but Krishna's mind remains restless how to get him out. So Krishna becomes very restless and while Arjuna is expressing his grief of his son's loss, and Yudhishthira Maharaj is talking about the next day's preparations, Krishna summons Arjuna and said, you must do this. Go to Bhishma Dev, go to Duryodhana and remind him of the boon which he has given you. Now Krishna remembers everything. Vedam samatadani vartamanani chagarojana bhavichani cha bhutani mam vedana kaschana. He remembers everything. So Krishna remembered that Duryodhana had given him a boon when he was salvaged, being attacked by the Gandharvas, when he was humiliated when he was attacked and overpowered. Right? That time Duryodhana had told him, Arjuna, if you ever need something from me, I will give it to you. Arjuna said, okay, I hope I don't have to ask anything from you, a person like you. Right? But the boon was there, kept safe with him. So Krishna reminded him, remember this boon which Duryodhana gave you? Go and ask for this boon now. Right? So Arjuna takes his white horse and rides to the tent of Duryodhana. And all the Sainiks, they move aside, they sing Duryodhana. It is very amazing to see how ferociously fightful, revengeful people, and in the evening they would be loving to welcome each other. So, come in, have a drink and whatever. Right? So that type of behavior was there, and they welcomed him. And Duryodhana also welcomed Arjuna. Arch rival, but still he gave a smile and he welcomed him and said, okay, Arjuna, so you have come to ask for a kingdom or something? If you are going to ask something, if you ask for the kingdom, I will give it to you. Arjuna said, I don't want to have the kingdom from you. I will win it. I will not beg it. I said, then what do you want? Why have you come here? He said, give me those 5 arrows. Give me those 5 arrows. And surprisingly, in a very sporting way, Duryodhana takes those arrows and said, chal, leke ja, like that, In a very, he also had a very sporting Kshatriya spirit. Come on, I give it to you, And he hands over this nonchalantly to the hands of Arjuna, his arch rival. And Arjuna only too happily takes them and goes back to his this thing and shows it to Krishna. Because on one hand, Duryodhana was also thinking that even if these 5 arrows are taken away, Bhishma has promised me. Right? That promise of Bhishma is still there. Right? That is, promise is not gone. The arrows only have gone. Right? So he trusted Bhishma, because when Bhishma says something, he will always back it up with his own life. So if you know the story, of course, that Bhishma the next day fights so ferociously. On one side also is the fight of Abhimanyu. He fights ferociously. So there is massive fight going on. But today Bhishma is uncontrollable. It is said like a stack of hay is burned by, how fast a stack of hay can be burned by the fire. When a fire hits a stack of hay, within no time the stack of hay becomes ash. So the way Bhishma was cutting through the phalanxes of the army, within no time he would have destroyed everybody. He was unstoppable. And then of course we know the story how towards the end of the day, right, and he decided to kill Arjuna, right? And then he takes his fatal arrow and he shoots at Arjuna, right? And before it reaches Arjuna, it is sun has already set, right? And Krishna takes the wheel of the chariot and then he attacks Bhishma Deva. So in this way he honors Bhishma Deva's promise. So we can see of various examples, whether it is Prahlad's distress or whenever devotees have been in distress, Kunti's distress especially, Krishna is, and that is the inherent faith of a practicing devotee, that Krishna is my actual and ultimate savior. In a state of semi-faithlessness, we may still take shelter of other principles when we are in distress. But even if we take shelter of some other principles, we know that they will only work if Krishna sanctions them. That is very important to understand. We may take shelter of this vidya or that vidya, this knowledge or this process or this ritual or whatever else may be advised sometimes by different people, by different well-wishers, different scriptural injunctions. We know that ultimately whether that really works or not depends on who? Depends on Krishna. That faith we have, right? If it doesn't work, it is Krishna's will. If it works, it is Krishna's blessing. Right? So the same Bhima whom we are talking about appeared again in this world in the year 1238 and lived for a long time till 1317. The appearance of Mukhya Purana, Vayudeva's called Mukhya Purana, appeared again in this world as Sripad Madhvacharya. And the story is, and the purport is very mystically today I find that this purport is very relevant to Madhvacharya. Because here Krishna is telling Uddhava to leave Dwarka before Dwarka goes to the process of submerging. And submerging means there will be loss of everything will be submerged and there will be a lot of distress. And the main distress would be, which he did not want to see Uddhava to see, was the martial Leela, where the Yadus would fight among themselves and kill each other. All those thousands of Yadus will fight in a fratricid, what they call as fratricidal war, and kill each other. He didn't want Uddhava to go to experience these things. Therefore he told Uddhava, pehle se hi, you go to Badrik Ashram. So in this particular Leela which took place in Dwarka, there is a deep connection between Dwarka and Udupi. Very deep connection. Right? And we will try to recount this through the story of Sripad Madhvacharya. When Dwarka is predicted in the Mahabharata that after Krishna leaves, Dwarka gets submerged, the whole city gets submerged. Right? So what we see today in the shores of Dwarka during archaeological excavations is the same city of Dwarka which is submerged as per the prediction by Krishna himself that this will be destroyed by the waves. It will be submerged. Right? Now, there were very, very valuable things in Dwarka which had to be preserved. But one of the most precious things in Dwarka was the deity of Krishna and Balaram, which was worshipped by none other than Krishna's own principal queen, Srimati Rukmini Devi. So Rukmini Devi had heard from Rohini about Krishna and Balaram's childhood pastimes. And being attracted to those pastimes, that brings up the story of Lord Jagannath. That's a different story of Jagannath also comes in there. Right? But anyway, So we won't go into that dimension. Hello, Hare Krishna. So when the story was being narrated, Rukmini falls in love with Krishna's childhood form. And she requests Krishna, my dear Lord, I would like to worship this form. This is very special because she is already in a conjugal rasa with Sri Krishna, who is with her own beloved husband. And yet she finds that the Leela of Vrindavan is even sweeter than the Madhura rasa she is experiencing with Krishna. And therefore she says, I want to worship this form. So he is simultaneously worshipping Krishna in Sakshat form as Dwarkadhish Krishna, and she is also worshipping the deity form of Bal Krishna in Vrindavan. This is very wonderful. Rukmini Devi has got a very unique type of rasa with the Lord. And this is a form where the Lord is holding a nice fruit or fruit custard in his hand, and having this in his hand, this lakoti, which the Lord holds, the vetra, it's a vetra, which is used as the stick for herding the cows. This is so special, how the Supreme Lord is holding a stick for cows. This is such a special Leela of the Lord. So this form is being worshipped there. And then as the waves come in, the sages try, but they are not able to salvage these two special deities of Krishna and Balram. And then they get submerged and buried into the ocean. And they are apparently lost to human eyesight. They are submerged, they are lost. And they go floating, and they enter into what is called as a special chandan called Gopi Chandan. Right? And they are there for many centuries. Now how they get submerged in Gopi Chandan is also wonderful. Because Gopi Chandan is considered by the scientist as got natural preservative properties. And therefore the deity remains completely undisturbed and unaffected even after for years, not years, several centuries. This is 5,000 years ago story. Madhavacharya is 12th century. Right? So many years have passed, but the deity remains absolutely intact because the Lord wants to remain in that form and wants to have his worship being continued. So in a natural form he is preserved, like you have preservatives to preserve so many things in this world. The deity is preserved also by Gopi Chandan. And then when the sailors who are doing trading, they are coming to Malpe beach, and that time there is a storm. It's a massive storm. And they are risking their very lives and find that their goods are going to be drowned. They're carrying a lot of valuables, and they're carrying these huge blocks of chandan which were just meant for balancing the boat. Right? But the boat can get capsized, right? They didn't have technology at that time so much, right? So they had to balance this side and that side. So this side was the goods and that side was the chandan, and that was so that the boat remains in balance and they can navigate safely. Right? But unfortunately there's a big storm now, and they risk that everything is going to probably get drowned. At that time, and by divine intervention, Madhavacharya is sitting on the beach in deep meditation, as if sent by Krishna in anticipation for receiving his beloved Lord. He's just sitting there. And as a storm is there, and these people are shouting, helter skelter, to save their life, Madhavacharya gets up and takes off his uttariya shawl and just moves it in a particular way, being Vayu, being the personification of Vayu. The storm immediately quietens down, right? Because he has control over the wind, definitely. He is son of the wind god. And as the boat comes to the shore with happy sailors whose life has been saved and salvaged, then said, anything you want from here is yours. You saved our life and saved all the booty which we are carrying. So he said, I am a sannyasi, what do I need? I don't need all these goods. He's a virakta. But he says, you give me those 2 blocks of Gopi Chandan. And they're only too happy to give it because they're just for weight management. They are not of any value to him. So he takes, and as soon as, and these are very difficult. There are 30 people carry this, they cannot carry it. It's very heavy. But Madhavacharya is so powerful. He just goes and himself with his 2 hands lifts And he lifts one block of chandan and brings it to the shore. That block bursts open. And behold, comes out the deity of Sri Balramji Maharaj ki. Balramji manifests because he would like to be worshipped there at the beach itself. He would like to be worshipped not with his brother, but he wants to have a separate temple for himself. So he burst and he wants to have a separate temple for himself, not with his brother. So the Balramji's deity is manifested there, and even today when we go to Malpe beach, right, we will see this very, very ancient temple of Balramji who is worshipped. Very few temples of Balram separately like this. One of the very rare shrines of this world where Balramji is separately worshipped in divine royalty, in great devotion. Right? And then he carries the other block with his own hands and he takes it to Udupi. Right? And that time he chants, and since Krishna is there, he's seeing the form of the Lord in the Gopichandan, he chants this very special Dwadash Stotra, right, which is very famous today also among the Madhva followers. In fact, today when we were doing in the altar of the Lord, when Shalagramji was worshipped, our Madhavacharya Prabhu and his two assistants, and Nityananda and what is his name? Both Nityanandas, sorry. To both the Nityanandas. They were chanting the Dwadash mantra today. Very special. Very sweet. In commemoration of this great event. So then this temple is installed. So this deity which we are talking about is today present for the world to see and behold and worship. And since that time, how many millions and millions and millions have come to this temple? Right? That famous deity of Udupi Krishna. So Madhavacharya, his birth name is Vasudev, and we don't have much time to talk about all the details of his pastimes, but from very early childhood is depicted some very special traits. Extremely brilliant, able to catch any scripture and master it in no time. Very, very sharp intellect and extremely powerful physically. He could, as a small infant, if he jumped, he would jump 12 miles. Infant can jump usually 12 inches at the best. he would jump. So when his mother would call him, and he said, "Where are you, Vasudev? Where are you?" So he would jump from 12 miles. "Mummy, I'm here. You called for me." Right? And his voracious appetite, of course, right? Said even for the human beings, the more you have this prana shakti, you can digest better. And you don't have much of prana shakti, it's called as mandagni. The mandagni means you eat nice food, but you won't digest anything. But Madhavacharya could digest anything in any amount. So you consume large amounts of prasad. I think at one point he had, as a small child, he had small baby. He had 200 bananas at one single go. We can't even probably handle 20. Right? But the important thing is that at the age of 12 years, he takes, very young age, he takes to sannyas ashram. He tells his parents that he's attracted to a life of renunciation as a very young child. Of course, the parents are already Vaishnavas. They are not the Brahmanical Vaishnavas. It has to Vaishnavism. And like any other parents who love their children, and every parent loves their child, whether it's our brahmacharis or they were saying, no, you cannot take sannyas and you cannot live as a monk. And so there were big resistance there. So I said, okay, if you are blessed with another son, would you allow me to take sannyas? Because the main argument is you are the only son. Then who will take care of us like that? This usual word is just spoken. So if you are blessed with another son, you allow me son? Yeah, okay. So then a son is born. I think his name is Govinda. I'm not sure, but his name is Govinda. But and yet they are very resentful of this whole idea of him taking sannyas. A big UN Karaya of parents not sending him to the ashram of Achyuta Preksha. His guru's name is Achyuta Preksha. So he tells them, an ultimatum he gives them. If you allow me to take sannyas, you will see me from time to time, I'll come home and see you and meet you. But if you don't, I will leave you and you will never see my face again. No. You take sannyas, at least we can see you. So then he joins the ashram of Achyuta Preksha, and because of his intelligence and his ability to grasp knowledge, he is now renamed as Purna Prajna. Purna Prajna, right? Sannyasa is Purna Prajna. Purna Prajna, as you know, means Prajna means knowledge, divine knowledge. And Purna Prajna means one who has got complete knowledge of all that is knowable. It's Purna Prajna. Right? And very soon he established himself as a great scholar and a great debater. There are several stories of him debating various great scholars who were at that time very powerful. We have to remember that the special role of Madhavacharya is very important for us to understand, because we are connected deeply to his sampradaya. We are Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And the Sampradaya link which we have with him is because we have Krishna, Brahma, Narad and Vyas. And apparently after Vyas there is a big gap. And that gap is filled by, there are other acharyas who are there in line, but they are not mentioned because they are not so prominent. But the big gap is filled by the presence of Madhavacharya. And then you have Lakshmipati Tirtha and others in the line also. And why is he able to fill that gap, and why is there a link between Vyas and the other acharyas in the line? Because he personally met Sripad Vyasdev. So there is a story of how when he was in his 40s, he took this very special historical journey from Udupi to Badrika Ashram. What is the sole purpose? To meet his beloved Gurudev, Sripad Vyasdev. And being so powerful, and of course at that time we don't have, Badrika Ashram means you don't have like helicopters now and buses and flights and all going, right? He actually walked through those Himalayas. And Himalayas at that time were maybe 100 times more ice than it is even today. There was no global warming at that time. There was so much more ice, right? But he would take huge strides and cross peaks and peaks of mountains. And Vyas is not manifest to mortal eyes. You cannot see Vyasadeva, he is divine personality, so you cannot see him with mortal eyes. But being divinely inspired, Madhavacharya actually meets with Madhavacharya, with Vyasadeva, and they have a deep discussion. And he shows him his written commentary on the Bhagavad Gita to Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva himself, I think he also wrote the Vedanta Sutra, Mahabharata Tippani, right? He wrote Mahabharata Tippani, right? So Vyasadeva endorses the entire Tippani, which is written by Madhavacharya. And therefore, that link is very important to us. His very special contribution to the world, which is what Srila Prabhupada has inherited also from a Sampradaya, and what Mahaprabhu gave. As we know, Mahaprabhu synthesized the four Sampradayas which we have, the four Vaishnava Sampradayas which we have, and took 2 points from each Sampradaya. So as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we appreciate deeply the contribution of Madhavacharya for his two contributions, which we also deeply respect, honor, and hold in very high esteem. One is the complete refutation of Mayavad. And second is the worship of the deity form of the Lord as non-different from the personality of Godhead. These two are considered as very important aspects within our own Gaudiya Sampradaya. How significant it is to understand that in this world, other people are following other sinful lifestyles, and among those who are considered as pious, following a pious lifestyle, they are all following the path mostly of Mayavad. The Mayavadis, externally speaking, they are quite renounced, they are very knowledgeable, they deeply stay away from sense gratificatory activities, they have lived a very simple life, and yet deep within their heart, they cherish this very, very evil desire to become one with the Lord. It's a tremendous contamination of the heart. In Mahaprabhu's Leela, we know this pastime, which is very special pastime when Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami is going to meet the Lord to Jagannath Puri. And on his way he meets a very special person called as Ramdas Vishwas. Ramdas Vishwas was very glorified as a person who would 24 hours a day non-stop recite Ram Nam and Ram's pastimes from the Ramayana. Non-stop practically. So he was considered as a great saint. Who had the power to talk about Ram Nam constantly? Nobody, right? So he was very revered in the circles who knew him. Very revered as a great saint. And as they are walking, so you are going to Jagannath Puri, I am coming along with you, right? And he takes a bag of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and said, no, please allow me to carry it. No, you are such a great saint, how can you carry it? No, if you allow me to carry, I will recite Ram Nam for you. He said, okay, shall if sitting Ram Nam. So he allows him to do that, serve him, and he's chanting Ram Nam constantly. Ultimately, when they reach Jagannath Puri, the Lord is very happy to receive Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, whom he had instructed that after your father and parents leave this world, then you should come and join. And at that point of time, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami stayed there for 8 months, and then he was deputed to Vrindavan to join with Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. So he was very happy to meet him, but this person, Ramdas Vishwas, who was such a great renowned saint, is standing in the same room of Gambhira, who has accompanied Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Mahaprabhu does not even acknowledge his physical presence. Very, very important. Because he is the Lord in the heart. And being the Lord in the heart as Antaryami, he knew this Ramdas Vishwas, who looked like a saint in external disguise, actually internally cherishes a desire to become Ram. Right? So this whole chanting of Ram Nam is a facade, is a falsity. Right? And therefore it is in our line, Prabhupada has within his own pranam mantra, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine. He made his own pranam mantra obviously because there was nobody else to make it for him. But he upheld this principle which was part of the Madhva Sampradaya. Madhva came specifically to destroy Mayavad in this world. Because the world was dominated by Shunyavad and Mayavad. And therefore, this basic understanding, foundational understanding that the Lord is different from the Jiva. Therefore, his trademark sign is this. Right? The Lord, not just any Lord, Vishnu. Right? Vishnu is the Supreme Lord. And this Jiva. They are two distinct entities. Of course, in that further Achinta Peda Tattva developed, that is later on, but he had to first refute the oneness and made it into the oneness which was so prominent. And even today also, this contamination goes on. And when Srila Prabhupada was at a Gita Sammelan, and then some people had come to speak about the Bhagavad Gita, right? All these big people who are scholars, people had come to speak the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada being, very well-known person, successful person, the commentator of the Gita, someone who had gone to the West, many disciples and followers of the Gita, he also was invited to come. I think this was in Indore, probably. Right? And they find that there was not a single, when Prabhupada goes there, he finds there's not even a single photograph of Krishna. Right? And they went on speaking about Krishna's, in the Gita in a very impersonal manner, with impersonal conclusions. And Prabhupada, now we may not see it that way, for lack of our own deep understanding about the value of this knowledge which we have received just by being connected with ISKCON, that the Lord and Jivatma are different. So apparently we are not contaminated by that Mayavad concept to any deep extent, except from our previous conditionings, of course, may be there, right? We may still be impersonal with people or devotees and the Lord. But this conclusion is given to us in a ready-made manner. But Prabhupada's eyes became red. He became angry, like Nrsingadev. And he banged and said, "Stop it!" He couldn't take it any more further. How can they go on talking about Krishna in an impersonal manner? Right? There is some force, some unseen force, the unseen, unknowable, homogeneous sense of oneness. And all such words are being used which completely disgusted Prabhupada to the core. And Prabhupada called his team of devotees and said, "Let's have kirtan." Apparently to whitewash whatever they had done, and this kirtan would be some benefit to the audience than all the crap which they had heard before from the previous singers. Radhanath Maharaj narrates one incident about the earlier days of Prabhupada's, I think it was in Matchless Gift, New York 2nd Avenue, 22nd Avenue, where one particular hippie comes there and talks about Mayavad. Because, they didn't know anything. They were just reading something from here and there, that I am God. Something he says. And this hippie kept on wrangling for a long time about Mayavad philosophy. And Prabhupada was again getting very, very transcendently angry. The Prabhupada's anger is not like our anger, born of frustration of material desires. His anger is transcendental. And he shouted loudly, "Have you finished?" And he became so vocal about his anger, and that from that day onwards, ISKCON people realized that this makes the Swamiji very angry. Because they were hearing from Prabhupada, that Mayavad is not, Prabhupada was talking about it in his lectures, but till the time they had not dawned upon it that this is such an important part of our philosophy. But on that day, it became firmly established within our society that we are heavily against Mayavad. Right? And therefore nobody else ever to talk in ISKCON about Mayavadi philosophy. And to top it all, of course, Mahaprabhu has said, "Mayavadi bhasha shunile hoilo sarvanash." Right? Why sarvanash? It appears so nice. Philosophy, very attractive. Nobody can understand what is so sarvanash about it. The sarvanash part of it is very important. Hearing Mayavad or associating with Mayavadi people destroys the intrinsic desire of the spirit soul to serve Krishna. And that is the only true intrinsic asset of the Jivatma. To be able to offer loving devotional service to the Lord. That is his connection to the Lord. There is no connection of the Jivatma with the Lord. There is no connection. Apparently the connection has been severed. Apparently. Because we have chosen to stay away from the Lord for millions of lifetimes. But the only means to re-establish that connection is when we start offering loving devotional service to the Lord. And Mayavad destroys that very intrinsic nature. And because it destroys that, you become practically like a stone. You have no emotions for the Lord left at all. Become emotionless, hard-hearted. Right? And that's the way Kali Yuga progresses. It progresses. So Mayavad is an excellent way which is there which is designed only for the rapid progress of Kali Yuga. And therefore devotees stay away from reading such literatures, hearing such saints, so-called, even if they are all renowned people in the world who are speaking this and that and glorified, devotees will only hear submissively from somebody who is a speaker trained in the Vaishnava line of Sampradayas, and who follows to the core that the Lord and the Jivatma are separate, eternally separate. So you can never risk hearing these so-called saints, ever, and risk our own spiritual life. Right? So today is a very auspicious day. Madhavacharya is there on the altar today. We can definitely pray that his beloved lords are Krishna and Balram, and Prabhupada established Krishna and Balram in a very special place for us as in ISKCON at Vrindavan. So may our natural purpose to love the Lord actually arise by His grace, and that our desire to serve the deities and never take them ordinary. Right? How many times we've been reminded that the deity is not different from the Lord, but by conditioning again, we may start taking the deities as ordinary. Right? But the deity is the Archa Vigraha incarnation of the Lord. They are non-different from the Lord completely. And therefore, to see the non-difference of the deity and the Lord is very special, because we all come to the temple, we stay in the temple, we take prasadam of the deities, we worship the deities, we sing their songs and glories, and to acknowledge them as the really present in the altar for us to see, even with in our so-called fleshy, mortal, material eyes, is such a great blessing. So that we develop this deeper faith, very deep faith in the deity form of the Lord, is very important on this today to pray, right? And make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Madhavacharya ki jai. Gaura Premanandi. Jai Srila Prabhupada.